So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show, number 10.
Hey everybody, Ed Matthews here with Real Estate Underground podcast. I am here with creative real estate investor Risby Drayton. Risby, thank you so much for your time today. We're really excited to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, actually. I appreciate it. I'm just sitting in a park. I usually do my cold calls from my car.
Yeah.
So I like to change up my environment every once in a while.
Keeps you engaged, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just mindlessly dialing.
Right.
Awesome.
I enjoy the breeze, everything.
Yeah, exactly. So Risby, why don't you, for those folks, I know you're pretty well known in the investor community, but there may be people out there who haven't really gotten into investing yet and want to learn about who you are and kind of what you do for a living. So why don't we start there?
What do I do for a living? Well, I'll just start with my story. I'm 29 years old, originally from Sellington, Connecticut. I grew up with a single mother. She retired from the city of Hartford, and then worked part-time job just to, keep everything maintained. As a kid, she always had me in programs, so I was in recreational basketball. I really stuck to martial arts. That's where I really fit. Started that at 7. To this day, I'm still doing that and teaching private lessons and whatnot.
Note to self, don't mess with Risby.
No. Yeah. I primarily began with real estate, just to do buy and hold, to collect rentals, because that's all I really knew. That's all I heard with real estate was just owning rental properties. So
right
at 22, I started taking it seriously as far as with my education. I didn't really take any action. It was really just learning as much as possible, just staying locked into my room and just learning hours a day.
Right.
And now I'm starting to see the benefit of all that.
Awesome. Yeah, education's the silver bullet, right?
Right. I specialize with mainly creative financing and just buying properties with little to no money or using other people's money.
All right.
That's my niche.
Okay. All right, cool. And so when did you buy your first property?
I was 22. I went to Australia for a little bit and I was teaching Muay Thai over there. And the instructor, he had a facility and he was just always traveling every week, going to different countries. And I've seen gym owners struggle, especially with martial arts. So it wasn't making sense of how he was doing that. And I guess he was in real estate. That's the word, real estate. Not a lot of people know what that means.
Sure.
So I looked into it and started, I have to own rental properties. So from there, that's when I just started my education.
Okay.
Whirlwind. Yeah, 23, I bought my first place using FHA, 3.5% down. Originally, I didn't qualify because my income, I didn't have any debt really. Just my income wasn't too much. So I learned little loopholes, like I would work 80 hours a week for months to show that it was the actual income, not just I'm getting overtime every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I grinded with that and showed income. And then that's how I got into that property. It was a 2-family. I still live in it today with a 3rd floor, 2 bedrooms. So I rented out rooms. I rented out to a lady and then I ran out to storage.
Awesome.
And my gym's above it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I teach privates out of there.
Fantastic. Is your portfolio strictly rental properties or do you do any flips or anything like that?
I have 6 units. I have done 1 flip by myself. That one I did 2 years ago. I got rid of it last year.
In the middle of COVID?
Yeah. So I got it sold the first day. Yeah,
wow.
Above asking. And this is when they were doing drive-by inspections, appraisals.
Yeah.
So that one was cool. Yeah, I didn't use my own money for that either. At the time, I was working with kids and adults with intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
So I was in a school and group home setting. So I was working a lot of hours there. And I was trying to get a second house and lenders were just telling me that I had to have 20% down and all of that stuff. And for years, I had that mindset that I had to do all of that.
Right.
And I was trying to save to do that flip that I finally did.
Yeah.
And I never made that savings. I never made it to that 20%.
Yeah. Right. And yet you've done multiple deals, right? Amazing.
Yeah. I got laid off from my job and they were still paying me for 3 months. So all that time I was just learning. So I didn't have to actually go to a job. I was just home learning. They were paying me anyways.
I love that.
So I was learning, and then it just finally clicked where I realized that I really didn't need to have my own money. It was the fact that credit is money, but with credit, we use it to buy things that don't make us money. That's just the mindset thing.
Right.
And then I clicked, and then I learned how to liquidate the card and use that for the flip.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. You specialize in creative deals, right? So walk me through your approach in terms of how you're evaluating a property and frankly, how you're finding the money.
At first, I was trying to focus on just REOs and buying foreclosed properties using credit cards.
Okay.
Then I realized that that still involved me needing some money, someone's credit.
Right.
So I looked into seller financing. I heard of seller financing. I didn't understand what that was. I learned what seller financing was. And then I had to end up getting a house for free off of that family.
Sorry. I'm going to stop you. No, that's okay. I'm going to stop you. You got a house for free?
Yeah.
Tell me all about that. That's awesome.
It was a 3-family. It needed a lot of work. I didn't really know too much about wholesaling at the time. It was just something I was doing. I didn't even know about assignments. So it was a 3-family, and she had to abandon it and move to Florida because her nephew had got shot.
Oh, God.
So I guess they were just vacating. Yeah. And she said that she had owned the property free and clear because she had did some civil rights work back in the day, and the attorney general had paid off her house.
Wow.
So I let her know that I'll fix the house for you, and then I'll pay you on the back end. So when title, it said that she had a mortgage open and that she didn't own the property free and clear. This was after she had already deeded it to me or signed it over to me. I didn't use an attorney. I just went down to it. Yeah. And then I had a title search done, and then they're telling me that you can't take this over because they're going to foreclose on it. And they ended up foreclosing on it. I only lost $4,000 because I just cleaned it out. Yeah. So that was that deal.
Okay.
The foreclosure didn't affect my credit or anything because I didn't use that. She just gave me the house.
Sure. Yeah, it affected her credit, unfortunately.
I don't understand that to this day if she had mental issues or because she was telling me all these stories on how she fought for her rights, or then the attorney general paid her off. She had a deed for it. And at the time, I thought the deed was when you own a house outright, you get the deed. Well, it's kind of not what a deed is. A deed is just the title, like you own the property. You know, that's another way of saying title. So I think I messed up on that end, but I learned from it.
Yeah. So the thing I would take away from that, and I get asked this by my attorney all the time, is do you want me to run a title search? And the answer to that question 100% of the time is absolutely, right? And we always buy title insurance so that in a situation like that, if there's something that's been overlooked for whatever reason, at least you have some recourse to protect your rights. Fascinating.
I know that now to use attorneys.
Hey man, I've lost count of the mistakes that I make. I make 10 mistakes a day, and hopefully 7 or 8 of them I can fix, and the other 2 or 3, well, I got a lot smarter, right? So sometimes your education is cheap and sometimes it's expensive.
Right. People pay hundreds of thousands for their education, go to college and university.
Absolutely.
So this is the price of it. It's okay.
Yeah, I tell people left and right, I don't have an MBA, but I live my MBA every day, right? I learn real estate and entrepreneurship and marketing and finance and accounting and everything else to run the businesses you run, to run the business I run. It teaches us every day. That's important. Obviously, you are someone who has kind of taken the bull by the horns and dove in and created quite a nice portfolio. I mean, 6 units is pretty significant. And I base that on the fact that I meet dozens and probably hundreds of people through CT RIA and my own networking. And I'd say 90 to 95% of them want to do what you do, want to do what I do, but they don't for whatever, either they can't find the money, they don't have the courage, they don't know where to get the deals or whatever. So what separated you as an entrepreneur from those folks that are just dreamers that are afraid to pull the trigger, so to speak?
I think it's really just 3 things. First, your mindset. Your mindset has to be there.
Right.
If you're trying to build wealth or you're trying to be a 1%er, as I like to call it, these people, they don't use the same strategies that everyone else uses. If everyone used them, there wouldn't be any employees. There wouldn't be anyone to get the garbage, to make the food, to deliver the mail. There wouldn't be any employees because that's not how economies work. So if you want to be a business owner, you're obviously having people telling you like, you shouldn't do that. That's risky. And just a bunch of things to deter you from you doing what you want to do, but you're not taking the information from the right people on that.
Right.
So mindset's huge. And then that comes with habits and talking to yourself differently with your goals. Instead of saying, I think I'm going to try to read a book today, I'm going to do those podcasts. You're already setting yourself up for failure. You could tell yourself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do those podcasts today. And put some time on it. I'm going to do it at 5 o'clock. People aren't willing to do that. People aren't willing to write things down. They're not willing to change their habits.
Right.
But really, money can be created as long as you have the correct mindset.
Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CT RIA Funding comes in. CT RIA Funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to ctriafunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572.
I was talking with Oz Pariser, who I think you may know, the Ons and Riches in mine. And one of the things he was talking about was a book he read called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've ever read it, but basically the author says, every day when you wake up, you vote, right? You vote on who you are. And you're either an entrepreneur or you're not. You're either a person who's fit or you're not. You're a person who takes care of themselves or you're not, right? And with every action, you're making that vote. So you voted to become a real estate entrepreneur. And, that commitment, and I couldn't agree with you more, that the fact that goals don't become real until you write them down and commit to them specifically, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get this done at 5 o'clock today. I was talking with a friend of mine a while ago, and he was talking about along the lines of what you were talking about with COVID and losing your job. What did you do with COVID? Did you sit and binge, Netflix shows, or did you go out and get educated, right? You went out and got educated, and even more so, right? Above and beyond where you were previously. So that's impressive, man. Hats off.
This was that flip I was saying. That was 2019. So when I had sold it, that's when COVID started.
Yeah.
There's tons of opportunities. So right now we're in a wealth transfer.
Right.
And if you understand how economies work, then you could definitely come on top. So I'm taking advantage of people losing their, I don't wish people for losing jobs. That's just something that's happening. And I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help people. So I know how to help people. These people lost their jobs. Now they're behind on their mortgage, especially if it's rental property or whatever. Now they're stuck with some options. They can do the forbearance where it doesn't report for a certain amount of time. If you have a W-2, they can add it to the back end of your loan.
Yeah.
No, if not, they're going to ask for it all up front. What people are going to be foreclosed on. So I have the solution of saving you. I'll reinstate your mortgage. I'll take it over. And I'll make sure you're already set in a new place before we even close. That's if what you decide to do.
Right.
If you wanted to stay there, if you wanted to stay there, we can figure something out where I'll reinstate the loan, I'll own it, and then you can do a rent to own with me.
Yep.
So there's always solutions. That's what I do.
So when you're talking about reinstating loans, are you talking about assuming those loans and then catching them up?
So the thing is, with loan assumptions, that doesn't exist. Is what is this terminology thing? Loan assumptions is when you would go to the bank and then the bank would rewrite the loan for you just taking it over.
Right.
That's a loan assumption. What I do is I take over the house, but the loan stays open in the previous owner's name and they're responsible for it. I'm just going to take over and catch it up for you.
Gotcha.
And have the house.
Right. So basically you're quit claiming the house to you or your company and you're paying the mortgage on behalf of the owner as far as the bank's concerned.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they don't. So with banks, they don't care. As long as they get their payment, they're happy.
And that's the key right there, right? Is the due on sale clause. You always hear about, you can't do what you're describing, right? But the fact is you can, because the bank, Chase Manhattan Bank, doesn't care if they get the check from Ed Matthews or Risby Drayton. It doesn't matter. What they want is they want their $2,000 or whatever it is. So let me ask you, it sounds like you are very educated in this space and you've figured out a bunch of angles that most people don't even take advantage of. You were talking about mindset and surrounding yourself with people that are behind you, right? So what's the best advice you've ever gotten? And I'm just curious who gave it to you.
Take information from people who have done or doing what you're trying to do. Grant Cardone. I heard that at his 10X conference a couple of years ago.
Yeah? What was that?
That's when it changed my life, because I think that was like I don't know. I've been working on the mindset thing But going to that, it's like there's a whole nother side, like the whole habits, like writing. I was always against like writing your goals down and stuff. I have a vision board. I have that up. But like with goals, it's like I know what I need to do.
Right.
And with all those successful speakers, they were all doing the same thing. So I might as well just follow the blueprint.
Right.
Know?
Model those before you, right?
Yeah.
That have done what you want to do.
I agree.
Okay. You've obviously read a bunch of books. I'm just curious from a business perspective, what's the most impactful or the best business book you've ever read?
Honestly, I'm more of a podcast guy.
Okay.
Audio guy.
Let's talk about that.
I like to move around and maximize my time. It makes sense.
Totally.
It will be another Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold.
Okay.
Mainly just because he shows you how to handle rejection and how to overcome objections, especially if you're trying to do off-market deals. You have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to say no. A lot of people are going to hang up. And if you don't perfect your script and how to talk to people, if you might sound robotic, or people are going to know that. And they might test you with objections that if you don't know the right response, then they'll just hang up the phone on you.
Sure.
I take those objections as that's just a hurdle. You're not fully uninterested with what I'm saying. It's just I have to get over this hurdle and then I can get to you. Yeah. That's not a problem if you want me to get there.
Right. But they've got to believe, right? They got to believe that you're a good guy and that you're dealing straight with them, right?
It's really just this giving them value. I mean, I'm not going to convince anyone. I already know I have a solution for you. I'm just going to give you as much value as possible. And if you decide that's what you want to do, then I'll help you.
Fantastic. So as far as real estate specific podcasts, what are some of your favorites?
Less in the Bigger Pockets. I started doing the Subject to before Pace Morby, but I'm listening to his stuff. His stuff's really good. Chris Crone, Jay Morrison, those. And I listen to different RBCs, which is real estate, business, and credit. So I listen to all three of them because you need all of them to do what I'm trying to do, what I do.
Awesome. So you mentioned credit. Who's somebody you're listening to these days about building your credit?
The Credit Game, he's good.
What's
this other guy's name? He's always having different credit union cards and how to get approved for high limits on those. I'll study different companies like Fund and Grow. I use their service and I basically just copied. So I'll need to see something one time or hear something one time and then I'll learn. As long as it's real estate related, I can use credit. I'll just learn as much as I can on that or everything on that. And then I'll just figure it out myself. So with Fund and Grow, they're a third party that gets you business credit. So they have the requirements on how you access business credit, how to liquidate the cards, all this information. So I learned it and now I just do it for other people.
And now you don't need them anymore, right?
No.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Clearly, you've got an entrepreneurial mind. And I'm curious, you probably could have done anything, right? You could have gone in to be a stockbroker or a trader or anything. Why'd you pick real estate?
Real estate is all around us.
Yeah.
We're born in it, the hospitals.
Yeah.
Live in it, houses, condos, apartments. We use it, malls, roadways, and we die in it, the land. It's real. We can touch it. We can send mail to it. We can live in it. A stock, that's just a piece of paper. It doesn't even exist. These 401ks, you're giving money to someone else to do whatever they want with it.
I hope they know what they're doing, right?
Yeah. I can control something that's going to be here when I die. My children's children is that's physical. That business or company can die as a lifeline on that.
Yeah. I mean, the S&P 500 from 1900 to 2000, I don't believe there's one company that was in the Fortune 500, S&P 500 back in the early 20th century versus if you look at those same lists today, none of those companies exist, right?
There you go.
So we've already talked about one of your deals, the no money down deal, which I still am fascinated by. What about another deal that you're particularly proud of?
The one that I got last October, this was one that the guy was trying to sell it on the market for a year. I ended up staying in contact with him every couple of months. It wasn't on top of him every month, but he ended up selling me the house. So it's a 2-family and the tenants weren't paying. Nobody wants to buy a house that tenants aren't paying, especially with COVID going on.
Right.
But that doesn't scare me because I've educated myself enough to know how to position with the tenants. I can put myself in a position where I'll be good with the tenants. So I inherited tenants that weren't paying. I bought it subject to. He was a little behind on his mortgage, not a lot, but he had a tax lien and he wanted $20,000. So originally he had it up for $160 and I had got it for $98. because how I bought it. Yeah, and it's worth 250. With creative, I don't really like with creative financing. It's like looking at something backwards. So I looked at the ARV at 250, and then what the mortgage was, and then that's my equity. So as long as the renovation covers it, some for me to get it reinstated to make the payments if they're not going to pay, eviction, all these things, if there's enough equity to cover all of that, then it makes sense.
Yep.
So I let him know that I'll buy it, because he was living in New York and he was out of state. So they were just running the house. The yard is a mess. They're paying now, which is good. But I had agreed to take over his payments, and then 3 or 5 years, I'll cash him out. And he was happy with that. So I had given him some money at closing. I had broke it down. It gets pretty complex. I set it up where I would give him some money at closing, and then I'll give him some money in a couple months because he wanted more than 20,000, but I was going to give him 20,000.
Okay.
How it worked. So I gave him some up front, and then that gave me time to go into the property and stabilize it, get the new tenants on board that I'm the property manager.
Yeah.
I'm willing to forgive your rent, blah, 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 if you go on lease, which is the whole point of me doing that was structuring a position with them too legally. So I have paper, not just because they didn't have anything with the other guy. They had a month to month, but I didn't see any leases. I didn't even see the first unit. And I knew that the backyard was all their stuff. So I bought a sight unseen on that unit. But everything, it all made sense. So I gave him some money at closing. I went in, got them to start paying rent, and then I gave him the rest of the money. So what I did was I pulled out a second mortgage the day I bought the house of his equity and used that to cover everything.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's kind of cool.
Very cool. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And this is just one big math problem. And if you can figure the arithmetic out, there's a deal. I love how you said you come at this from behind, right? That you're kind of deconstructing this deal so that you can create a perspective and understand the math better than anybody else that is potentially evaluating this, who's just looking at this from a, how do I finance this deal, right? They're probably not even thinking the way you think, which is your advantage. They might be thinking
about financing. They're probably thinking of, well, I think about a couple of things. I think about the investment, how much money my return is going to be on the investment, the return on my cash that I have to use or credit or however I find the funds. I try to find it to do with literally no money, like how I did it. I literally use his equity to buy everything. So my returns are infinite.
Right. And over time, you're going to get those tenants to pay. And once they start paying, that building becomes, like you were saying earlier, a lot more valuable immediately.
Right. There's still room to add value.
Yeah. Then you bring the rents up to market and you reinvest that money to make the building even nicer. And over time, you've bought an ugly building, but
you're not even ugly. Hey, it wasn't even ugly. No, the heaters were new. The second floor had just been renovated. It just needs new floors in the kitchen and throughout. It has new heating. I just did the roof because I had a leak. So I just did a roof and I fixed the furnace. I fixed the fan in there.
Yep.
And added a sub pump. And they're paying utility. Like that's
sick.
Simple.
That's really great. Congrats.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, when you're not doing real estate or chasing down deals, what do you like to do? How do you keep yourself busy?
I teach Muay Thai twice a week and boxing. Hang out with my two dogs, Prince and Riley. I love them.
Yeah.
I'm a dog trainer too, so I like to train them. They're super obedient. They know hand signals on. They're really cool dogs. I post them on my Facebook a lot. Honestly, I've been locked in. So I've been self-employed for about almost 4 years. Since I quit my job and just was like, I have enough knowledge. I need to just do it. Once I figured out that I didn't need money and I used credit cards, then it was just a wrap after that. And that's when I quit and I just focused. So I've been locked in. I don't go anywhere. When people ask me to go out, I kid you not, I just say I can't. Oh, I'm doing this. They know what I'm doing. And, I've lost some friends in that because they think that I'm avoiding them or I'm just not talking to them. I'm really not talking to anybody. I'm locked in.
You're locked in. Yeah.
Like you see me in the park. This is what I do. I'm always by myself. I don't listen to the radio. I'm always in silence. I'm always just improving my mind. Like, how can I do something? Listen to a podcast or always using my time because I don't know how much time I have here. So I'm just trying to build generational wealth and I have to sacrifice to do that.
Impressive. Yeah. So you mentioned Facebook. If people want to get in touch with you and pick your brain or just introduce themselves, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Instagram is the best. I'm trying to work on my social following, just giving a lot of value out through that. It's MR_ROI_, Mr. ROI. I'm also open to JVing with anybody in Connecticut. If they have something locked up or any agents, like agents are very hard to work with because they have a strict way of real estate and they know one way of real estate. So when I tell them I could do this, they're just like, hang up. They just don't believe anything I'm saying.
Right. They don't understand that.
They don't, but I do have solutions for all their clients who are considering short sales or just want too much.
Yep.
But yeah, they can find me on Instagram, MR_ROI_. Yeah, anybody in Connecticut, if you have something locked up and it doesn't make wholesale sense or doesn't make sense to you at all, I'll look at it and I'll find, because I'm not trying to make a profit now. A lot of with the creative financing is about pausing your profit, then making profit later, which is wealth building anyways. So I'll look at it and then we'll work it out.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Well, Risby, thank you so much for your time today. We certainly appreciate your time and frankly, your expertise. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I hope I gave a lot of value to your
You sure did. You sure did. So thanks.
This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a CT RIA presentation. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover, post it in the comments. For more information on the Real Estate Underground Podcast or CT RIA, go to realestateundergroundpodcast.com or ctria.com. Until next time, happy investing.